Hey guys, welcome to Warlord Weekly. I'm Warlord Brett. We're going to be doing another video review today. So today's review is from 2 weeks ago at SKBC, and it's going to be of myself fighting Bane. If anyone doesn't know Bane, he's a pretty strong up-and-coming fighter. I think this last weekend he just won the RW Kingdom level tournament, which puts him at 4 or 5 wins. So he's definitely winning tournaments and on his way to possibly getting a Warlord at some point. So it'll be a good thing to look at. This fight is fairly one-sided, but what I want to do is kind of go over some of the reasons that I'm winning the fights, what I'm doing, and some things that Bane can work on and do better. So hopefully we'll probably just watch the first 10 minutes or so of this. The last 4 or 5 we start messing around a little bit. I think they're not quite as useful for learning the game or anything, but hopefully I can talk through some of the intricacies of what I'm doing and why it's working, that may not be immediately noticeable, and then some of the things that Bane can do. So let's get started. One of the first things that I want you to watch through these fights is the difference in use of range control, right? You're going to see very early on that I'm moving a lot and Bane is not staying very stable. Right? You see how he's really sitting down on his feet, making small movements, and really not playing in and out of range like he should. What this lets me do, right, is I'm able to get into range and set up these shots on my terms. So you guys can see I'm kind of bouncing. I'm going to pause it right here. You can see I'm kind of bouncing in and out right here. What I'm trying to do here is twofold, right? I'm trying to step just inside range where it may trigger Bane to throw, and the moment I step in range, I'm exiting range, right? So it's a little bit of a range bait to see if I can get him to bite and come in. But the other thing it does, by immediately entering and exiting range, it somewhat disguises when I'm entering range for a purpose, to throw the shot versus just stepping in for a moment to get that bait. It's just, if every time I step in range, it's to fight, then it becomes sort of a tell when I'm closing that distance I'm trying to throw. So if I can keep closing distance and backing up, it can help disguise things. Alright, let's look at this. Bane, this was an overall great shot. I'm just going to slow it down real quick. Steps in, catches me in range, throws a nice double fake, and wraps under the board. May have started this a little early and then a little late. Alright, so here we go. Drops down, up, brings it right under. That's a beautiful shot. I throw that shot. I really love that shot. The only complaint I have about this is that is the only time he throws that shot in the entire 15 to 20 minutes. This isn't even filmed the entire sparring session. This is the only time he threw that shot, and it worked so well. So I'd really like to see everyone, when you find success, go back to success, right? So let's look at this, see what's happening. Alright. So this is going to be a little bit of a theme we're going to look through here about how I'm landing some of my shots, okay? So we're going to slow this down, and it's one of the not immediately noticeable things about how I set up some of my fakes, alright? And I'm going to show you this a few times over throughout this video, and it's going to be about watching his front foot, because I'm going to wait for his weight if you'll see, he's going to pick up that front foot a little bit. That front foot is off the ground. That's when I want to start my fight, or start my lunge. The reason for that is because I know the easiest thing for him to do is to step out of range, right? When I'm setting up a fake. If I can start, let's see, we'll pause it here, but if I can start my shot with his front foot off the ground, it makes it extremely difficult for him to deal with my fake by leaving range, right? Because he would have to push off his front foot. So I know now that I have forced him to deal with my shot rather than take what would be the safest bet and back up. You're going to see that I do this over and over again, and it's one of the things that makes a lot of my fakes so effective, is having a knowledge of when I can throw them, that they must deal with them, right? Now, on the other hand, for you, Bane, what I'd like to see from Bane is, I think that he's holding just a little bit too close of a range, right? I would like to see him just a hair farther out than this if he's going to be stepping slowly, right? By the time that he gets into this range, he needs to be pretty strong on his feet and and knees a little bit more bent, a little bit ready to move, right? So his foot's off the ground, come in, he has to deal with it, and I get it in there. So let's keep moving. Alright, steps in, tries a fake. Once again, you see I just back out of it, right? I'm not trying to trust how good my block is, I'm backing out of it. Once again, I'm stepping in and out of range. You're going to see a lot of how much I'm moving in and out of range and how static he's being. It really lets me control the fight on my terms, basically start and end them when I want to. Alright, so this was a very similar shot. Let's see where his front foot was when I started it. Hold on. Back it up to right here. So you see that I've stepped almost in range to be able to do something, like I'm in a closing step. His foot's just a hair off the ground right now, and I'm already starting. Foot hasn't touched the ground. He's stepping in. There's absolutely no way he can get out of this shot with using his footwork, right? Does that make sense? It's the best way for him to counter my shot. Just back up. And so I'm throwing it at a timing that it's almost impossible for him to do it, right? Does everyone see that? So we'll push play, boom, hit it as this thing lands. And he had a good response. If I hadn't gotten the hip, he would have gotten the kill, right? But unfortunately I got it. Fortunately for him, at least. Alright, let's keep moving. Once again, you're going to see that movement. He's posting up a lot, right? Really allowing me stepping out and to control when this is going to start. Right, we'll stop this one more time real quick. This is very similar to a shot that I show in my Warlord Weekly or whatever that I really like. This is just a counter to someone stepping in. It's a little bit different way to throw the exact same shot I've already thrown twice. But once again, we're going to look at how it's being thrown. We won't keep looking at these. But you'll see it's me timing that he's about to step in and then throwing. You see the weight transfer. I'm going to the wrong thing. But you're going to see a weight transfer. When I see that weight transfer right there, that load happened, I knew he was coming in, so I just dropped straight down to the shot. Alright. Hopefully, slowing these downs like this, I want to show you the parts of the shot that you might not be seeing, or the reasoning behind when I'm throwing a shot and why it's landing as well as it is. When other people might be able to copy the movement but not have the same success. Alright, let's look at this one, right? Because I'm going to tease him a little bit on this, right? Alright, so we're going to go, and I'm going to pause the problem here, okay? Everything is going good right here. Goes over, that's a fine shot. That's a fine shot. Here's my problem, okay? He wants to get somewhere to this pocket or to this arm, right? That's a pretty solid shot location right now. The issue is he has turned his shield completely out and is in a complete all or nothing phase right now, right? Let's say he does clip my arm as I'm turning over. My shot is still going to be a kill shot. It may be a hair late, but there's a good chance that it's going to be close enough that I won't be able to tell, or a Reeve won't be able to tell if this is a tournament. And so you'll be taking arm for a Simo or hip for a Simo. Plus, if you miss like he does here, and I get the shield on it, you're killing yourself completely. So I don't mind the shot, but we have to change. He needs to. We need to change how we're throwing this. And you basically have two options. You can use the option that I use a lot, Shion uses a lot, where you're dropping that shoulder down a little bit farther and bringing that shield so it's tabled over here. If it's tabled across this area right here, then it's much harder for me to wrap over and hit his back. The other option you can do is what Delos likes so much and use the 5-1-2 and basically spin out of this. So if you don't have the flexibility to get down there, or you're uncomfortable doing that, then instead throw that, step this leg through into the outside and let your board come back around, right? Those are your two basic options. This shot is not a bad shot. It is just the way it's being thrown is with complete lack of defense, right? So we'll go forward. He misses the arm. I take the kill. So make sure when we're looking at our shots that we're really paying attention to our defense as well. Teasing him a little bit. He's a member of my company, if y'all don't know. Yeah, well, I'm pro. I don't remember where I was. We'll find out. Oh, that's close enough to where we were. So, talking things through. Little thing, it is always good to kind of talk things through with your opponent afterwards. He's talking about what he saw. I'm talking about what I felt. It's just good when you're sparring to get that feedback from your opponent. Once again, you see he steps in with a fake, and I just step directly out because, as I was saying, when someone's faking, that is your best option. It is your best defense. And then let's take a quick look. Is his front foot coming off the ground? I don't know, but I bet it is. We'll look at it just real quick. Oh no, that time I threw it as he sat down. So I don't always do it when the foot's coming off the ground, but it's a main thing for my timing. It was after he landed and he was a little set down, but moving. That's just, once again, a lot of this fight, right, is going to be the idea of how Bane is keeping range. And that is, he is allowing me to step within range without immediately exiting, right? It's not always a problem to be within range, but it is if you are fighting a high-end fighter, allowing them to be at range on their own terms is going to be your death most of the time. So that's why you see so much dancing back and forth, and you'll see even now as I'm starting to get comfortable, I'm not moving quite as much, but you'll still see that at no point am I stepping in range and staying there. Right? I step in range and immediately back out. I step in range and immediately back out. I step in range and throw. We just really got to control that range when we're fighting at a higher level. So that was a little bait into a shot he didn't take. Another little bait into a shot that didn't take. And now we throw deep. So the one thing I want to say about this fight is those fakes, those little baits that happened beforehand, those two little things. The reason that I love throwing those, and the reason that so many high-end fighters like to throw those, is because the fact that they don't hit doesn't mean that they don't have a purpose and they don't give you a strong advantage in the fight. Because I've just shown twice in a row that my shots are being thrown in a way that it's a bait and I'm moving straight into a counter, right? It gives him a feeling that he should be a little more defensive, right? Because if he's firing out the second he sees me move, he's going to get countered, right? I'm showing him that I'm willing to counter his movement and not go for everything my first shot. And what that does is then allows me a little more leeway to go for a bigger shot, right? Now I move into a double fake, and he doesn't try to counter, it, right? Because I just showed him twice. If he comes out, I'm setting up a counter. So these little pokes that don't have much meaning from a distance can have a big meaning when you're looking at the minutia of the mind games or the chess game. Oh, I may have caught him a little in the head there. Let's see what we have here. Did I back up enough? Nope. All right, let's back up to here. All right. So, once again, following our theme, I don't think his foot's going to be off the ground, but I think it's going to be right as it touches the ground that we're going to start. Off the ground, heel down. The second he rocks forward, once again, it's not quite the same as the foot off the ground, but he is shifting his weight forward onto the foot. Once again, very hard to back out of it. Gives me a chance to throw a quick fake in there that he must deal with his defense rather than his range, rather with his feet. He's got to deal with it with his gear. And when we're throwing fakes, we always want them using their gear to deal with it, right? Because that's what we're faking. If they have the option just to back up, that counters most of it. Once again, a lot of active movement in and out of range from me. He's setting down pretty heavy on his feet. Really comfortable with letting me control this game. Just let me set down in range. There wasn't much to that except for letting me set down in range and throw a shot, Tried to do a counter shot, got a little lazy. He also threw a nice little fake there to drop my board. If we want to relook at that real quick so we see what's happening. This is a little drop stab I like to do every now and then. I think I did a Warlord Weekly on it, but it keeps people from pushing pretty hard. So if people are hard pressing, it takes stuff out of them a little bit. It's also nice when people sometimes feel like they need to push, do a quick drop stab. So what goes wrong here is as I go down, he's going to throw a little fake low, and it keeps my board down for a little too long. So it was a nice fake, nice setup. He got me with it. So solid shot. All right. Exact same thing here that we talked about earlier, right? All right, so we're just starting this fight. So you're going to see he's going to block the first one. I throw a big cross trying to get slot. He blocks it. He's going to throw two cross shots that are not much of anything, and then he's going to go for that hip again. And when he goes for that hip, we're going to stop and look at where he's at, right? Cross, boom. Bam, bam. What's he doing? Right? At least this time he's retreating a little bit, which is a lot better than he was doing before. But this is the second time he's throwing it, and he has just got no defense in mind except for the retreat. It's a little bit better, but that shield's way over here. If he were able to turn his shoulders and put that shield above his head going this way, it may have been enough to catch my shield, right? If instead of retreating out of that shot, he had have stepped through that shot to do the 5-1-2 like James does, once again, a good solid chance of keeping defense, plus he'd be moving out of my shot. But where he's at right now, this is once again an all or nothing shot, right? And even if he gets the all might still just be a Simo. So I like the shot location. I like setting it up off of the two shots over here. I don't like this body turn, shield out of the way thing. And so this is a little hole that I think Bane can be working on. So, and I will be telling him as much. Alright, let's keep moving. So, once again, there's not a whole lot to see here, but if we look at it, the one thing that I do want to highlight, because it's the reason he's dying, is, well, clearly terrible about this, is that he's just, look at his feet right now, right? This is a second before I'm going to throw this shot. I'm basically in range. He's flat-footed across both feet. All right, let's slow it down and see what the next second holds. But we have flat. He's foot in the air when I start because he came from this flat-footed thing. He's let me get too close. I'm in range. He's flat-footed, and as he picks up a foot to try to get into better footing, it's too late, right? And I'm throwing in. So, this is kind of shows how much footwork hopefully goes into a lot of these shots, and both not only yours but knowledge of your opponents, right? Same thing. He's going to turn out of it. Is going to be my main problem, I think. Right? I start throwing as his foot's in the air because I'm reading it. And once again, when he turns this, he's got it a little bit better here. He's picked up his shield somewhat. However, if you're going to go with the shield pickup, you need to have it farther and you need to be a little bit lower. I really think that you need to look at possibly spinning out. Spinning out is an option that maybe we should look at for that shot. Either that or you have to get lower, right? Because that shield's just not there. It's too much of a suicide shot if you can't get your shield over. Alright, so there's a few things I want to look at here. One, this is a borderline illegal shot. I give him a little shove. It is not illegal in anything, but amp guard, which we're fighting, so, So there's a few important things here that I like to talk about. First, this is just a message to everyone, right? We said right here, when someone closes really tight, where your guard needs to be changes, right? At this distance right here, there's a center gap where he can get to, but you're going to see that like within the next second, I'm going to close that distance so it's not there. Too often when people close, their guard stays in the same place and it doesn't need to, right? Bane's doing a pretty good job here. He's got his shield edge out into my hand. That's a pretty good angle. I'd like to see it just a hair higher. Um, but honestly, we'll see in the next second if he pulls it back a little bit, because if he just pulls it back a hair, that'd be enough too. So right now, I like this, but I just want you to look at how quickly guard changes here to here. This might be a little bit high, and I bet as I step in, it's going to lower just a hair. But let's step it forward. Cool, just a second. So shield comes inside this arm. Right now, there's no real contact. I think he's a little too flat here, and it's part of why he's going to lose control of this fight, in my opinion, right? Because as this comes farther inside, I have a much stronger base and an ability to fight this. All right, so there you see I give him a little shove to make distance, which is not legal in Amp Guard. If this wasn't a sparring session between friends, if this was a tournament or something, this was something I would get in trouble for. But for all my Dag Bell guys out here, definitely legal. So yeah, creating space and backing out. The last thing that I'll say about this is I instinctively pull my shield across when I leave, right? The reason I'm doing that is, as you'll see, this sword, you can't quite see it, is inverted on this side of my body. Because I'm throwing that cross, I realize my sword is basically going to be able to defend the left side of my body. So in order to cover all my bases and, hedge my bets, as I step out, I'm going to move my shield to my right side of my body so that I keep defense there with my sword defending the other side. So that's all that needs to be said on there. Just make sure, remember, as we're closing, our guard positioning needs to change. If it stays the same place, it's going to get us killed. Yeah. Doesn't hit, little pot shot, but once again, he is getting heavy in range. Alright. A little frustrated. It hit again. Let's see what happened. I bet we, at this point, already know what happened. But let's look at it anyway. Drive the point home. His foot is currently off the ground. Let's see how close it comes to hitting the ground when I throw. Peel was barely touching by the time I was starting to move, and I was probably a third to a halfway into the movement by the time his foot was flat on the ground. So, once again, using your opponent's footwork to set up your shot so that he cannot back out of it. He must deal with it. Yeah, that was his fight. Caught his head with the cross. And I don't even know that we need to at this point, but let's do it anyway. Just cause, what is it? Probably we slow it down. What are his feet doing when I'm throwing this shot? Oh, it's off the ground. In fact, it doesn't even touch the ground before he gets hit. Right? So, setting my shots up for success. based off my opponent's movement and footwork, not necessarily all off mine. Just a nice little, you know, we'll break it down because why not? All right, little tip out with the sword, right? You'll see that start. I'll start a hair before just so you can see it. Basically, I'm setting up a little blade beat to slot that I don't expect to work. But, you know, let's see what happens. Blade beat to slot, but I'm moving directly into the counter, right? You know, if that blade beat to slot hits, yay. But the big important thing is I'm throwing it with a low hand. Let's say that. Let's back this up so we can see what it. So that we can actually go through this. Okay, so we're going here. When I say I'm throwing it with a low hand, so when I hit, my hand is very low. The importance of this is that, so the higher my hand is, the better chance I have of making contact with his shoulder and successfully hitting. However, the more exposed my arm is. Because this is basically being used as a little pop shot, or pot shot, I want to keep my hand low so that it's defended and I can easily transfer into the counter if he decides to count, or basically into the dark side, which is a counter to the cross. If he decides to counter this shot, it's going to be with a cross, so I want to be ready to dark side in response. So I'm keeping that low hand so it's much more defended, and really not going for much with this shot. Just kind of, if it works, it works. But I'm not looking to hit with it. I'm just looking to throw some noise at him, right? And he starts to cross straight into the dark side, and I take it. Alright, let's look at a few more fights, and we'll say good enough. That was a real good take by Bane. Don't think it was a good shot, but he's an honorable guy. So we're just standing in range. Why is he just letting me stand in range? Oh. Alright. We might end on that one just because it looks like it was the beginning of getting silly. You can see my beautiful stab him directly in the neck. It hit the shoulder after the neck. I was really hoping it'd just be the shoulder. This is a little thing that I stole and modified from Anatole. Anatole's is set up a little differently, but throw that little flick, bring my hand back, and then you're just going for the all-out stab. Anyway, I think that's good for now. Let's leave it there. I think it gets a little goofier from here. Having fun. But hopefully you guys learned some stuff from that. Bane, my big takeaways here is you had some early success. You never tried to leverage it, right? You had a shot that faked me out and hit real clean. You need to be pushing that a little bit harder, because the big thing about it is one hit, and in probably 2 or 3 fights after it, you then tried to fake it and hit another place, right? And I didn't bite that fake, right? I saw it coming. But one hit is probably not enough to get me jumpy, right? Pulling it down. But with how much I wasn't able to get any shield on there, I would start to think, there's a chance he's not going to get shield on there the next time either, right? And as you push that, you can start drawing down my shield, and if you start drawing down my shield, you are going to be more successful with fakes going over my shield. And basically, just have a lot more success. My thoughts are, especially in this particular sparring match where you were definitely struggling, you really should have found the success that you did have and tried to leverage it against me. Um, Second thing is range control. You had a good feeling of where the edge of the range was, and you were okay with being just inside it, just outside of it. My issue is that you were letting me do it entirely on my terms. Entirely on my terms. Um, which, especially for someone like me who has a strong fake game, letting me control when and how the fights start is a great way to let me win, basically. Um, so, you had early success, learn to leverage that success, watch your range, and overall, I'd like to see more active feet, right? Not only, I say you're letting me control it, I would like to see you entering and leaving range some, moving left and right, playing in and out of range. That dance is going to let it, that learning that dance is going to let you take so much more control of the fight, because that dance is basically what starts the fight, and what starts the fight is often what controls the fight, right? It's all kind of chained together, but it's that dance that is one of the most important parts, and it's something that I'd really like to see you work on, because you've definitely got some decent stick game, but those feet need to get better. Third big thing is 2 or 3 times that uh, sword side hip shot, or sword side, you know, low shot, even if it's under my arm. You gotta do something different with your shield or how you're defending that. Either work on spinning out of it, or work on tilting more and bringing that shield well past your head. Either one is an option, but you can't do this half and half thing where you're pulling your shield off to the side but then not over, so it just leaves your entire body open. Takeaways from people watching what I'm doing. Uh, the big one that I'd like to show you is not only how I'm controlling range and the action, but we'll do that so we're not just staring at my butt. Uh, but also how I'm using his footwork to set up my shots. How often you saw repeatedly the theme of I started swinging when his foot was off the ground stepping in, right? That lets me know that he can't use range or footwork to combat my shot, to deal with my shot. He must use his gear to defend, and that's going to give me so much more success, especially if I'm working with a heavy fake game or strong openers, right? Okay, guys, that's all I got for this video. How long is it? 38 minutes. It's kind of long video, but I think there was a lot of good information. Hopefully, some of it wasn't too redundant. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If y'all did, do the YouTube thing, like, subscribe. I think that's everything. Yeah, y'all have a great day. Peace.